think I'm definitely getting near the end of my run.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
I know,
okay.
that's why I'm switching up to 2-inch boards.
You're like, I'm done with this.
Time to make some bigger ones and be finished.
You know, we are knocking them down though. You're down to what, 5?
Yeah.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Old Jarhead Sawdust Roadshow. This is the last video in the Mullen, Idaho series. We had a great time, milled a lot of lumber. And this video, you're going to want to stick around to the end on this one. There's lots going on. We're going to mill 3 logs, starting with this ponderosa pine that was about 16, 17 inches on the small end. And of course, like all of the ones pretty much I did at this customer's location, these old pondo pines, they had the bark removed, so that was really nice. But pushing them around in the dirt, you know, you got to kind of clean them off, and that's where it's handy to have like a wire brush handy just to scrub off the ends so the band doesn't run into the dirt. So we get the log positioned, get that first cut figured out, and away we go. And I'm going to try to get through these pretty quickly for you. At this point, we're getting tired. So we're just trying to get done as much as we can at the end of the day as possible. Milling 2x stock, full dimension. We'd gotten all the 1x6 that the customer needed milled. And we'd already milled, oh gosh, we just milled so much at this point. So, you know, right now it was get her done. So, you know, clean her off. Get that center point figured out, come back, drop her 1.5 inches, and away we go. And I'm going to let this run a little bit, but I'm going to kind of walk you through some of what we did here. And again, you're going to want to stick around to the end, because you know what? Someone else is going to run my sawmill. I think you'll enjoy that part. Let's let it run a little bit. Let's get this log off the deck. And while we're at it, the merch store is active. Christmas is coming, so, you know, maybe point the wife, or if you are the wife, tell the husband, hey, I'd like an old jar hedge. I love the smell of sawdust in the morning cup or mug or shirt or something like that. So it really helps the channel out. I really do appreciate it. And don't forget to give a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, it really helps if you do. I'd appreciate it if you did that. All right, we're getting this one knocked down now, but we still got a bunch of flitches to do. So once we get this cant down below 6 inches, we'll go ahead and run those flitches up on the deck and get them milled off for you. Now, since we're really kind of at the end of this job, and we've milled all the lumber that the customer needs, I went ahead and cut these pretty deep, and that was intentional. We just wanted some 2x6 out of this log, so we just go ahead, cut her deep, get what we can out of it. And one of the things about edging on the sawmill, it's something that everybody pretty much hates, right? But you know, something like this, you can do it pretty quickly, especially since we don't really need to eke out every last inch of lumber out of these. We'd made so much already. He was like, you know what, I can burn some of this as firewood or kindling, so let's go ahead, just edge them deep, get some 2x6 out of them, and the rest will stick on that slab pile, which if you notice there to the right, that's about almost 6 feet tall. It's a huge slab pile. All right, we get the next log pushed up. We're going to get this one off the deck too. So again, we're just trying to get these done. Now this big guy here, it was kind of heavy, and there was enough gravel and bark built up that we had to grab our log right cant hooks and roll it up onto the fork so we could get it up on the mill. Now you can see that's a big log. This one is over 24 inches at the small end. So once I get it positioned, we're going to slab this log down in 2-inch thick live edge slabs. So, you know, I just checked to make sure the pith is pretty well centered, and scrub off the end, clean it up so that the band isn't running into too much dirt. Really, no dirt is ideal. You know, often you can just cut that end off, take a hinge or something off the end, but if not, scrub it with a wire brush or something. Get as much off as you can. But you're not going to spend a whole lot of time doing it because you need to get this log off the deck. So we got enough off that we could go ahead and get it running, but the band is starting to be a little bit, well, when you run a mill like I do, you can just kind of hear what's going on. You know, if you could see in that shot just a second ago, the sawdust was kind of running above the band. That's an indicator that things aren't right, but you're not going to see that when you're walking beside the mill the way I do. So you just kind of run your hand on it, you listen to it, you see how things are running, and you know what? Time to change the band out. Here we are near the end of the day on the last couple logs, but get that band changed out. And you notice there that I kind of wiggle the band like that, and I grab it in the center as I pull it off the band wheels. It just kind of makes it easy to get it around that debarker. On these older mills, the debarkers were closer to the head, and they actually drove the sawdust. They just shot it right at you. The newer ones, they turned it around, moved it a little further away, and it actually sends the sawdust in the opposite direction. That's kind of nice. Now you might be asking yourself, why on earth am I running a debarker when there's no bark on the log? Well, folks, here's the deal. When you've got a log like this, it's been pushed around in the dirt, it can pick up a lot of dirt, it can pick up rocks, and the wood on the outside edge is a little bit soft. These have been sitting around a while, so it's not uncommon to get rocks lodged in there or dirt lodged in there. So I go ahead and I run the debarker even though there's no bark, just to clean that path in front of the band so that the band doesn't dull up any faster than it needs to. You also see the customer's help there, going ahead and just moving some of that sawdust out of my way. That's a big pile of sawdust, so it's nice to have it out of your way. And away we go. Let's get this thing milled down. We'll get her done, we'll get it off the deck, and then we're going to get the last log of this road show up and wait. Watch this. Yes, folks, these are big, heavy slabs. You know, I said this log was over 24 inches at the small end. Those side supports are almost 12 inches tall, and as I rolled that log, you'll notice that they weren't even, you know, half the height of this log on that open face. So you can tell that those are over 24-inch slabs that we're pulling off, and we're not even into the deep part of the log. So we're going to get there real soon. You know, I've often said that portable sawyers, we're sawdust eaters. If you walk beside a sawmill like I do, you're going to eat some sawdust. It's just the way it is. So you wear safety glasses, and if you can stand putting a mask on your face, that doesn't hurt. That helps. Look at how big those are. Those are huge. They'll make some nice live edge stuff in the future. Now, since this thing is a bit wide and I pushed it over, we're going to knock off one of those knots just to get it out of the way. And you'll see when I go by just how close we are. Look at that. We've got maybe an inch to spare, and that's after removing that knot. So we're getting into the wide part, and we're not quite in the widest part of the log yet. Here we go, almost the widest spot. We've got one more cut to do to take that center out. And if you notice, I boxed up the hard end. The pith is not quite centered in the next piece. It's a little bit off, but it is in that final piece. All right, you saw the pith there. It's about a ½ inch under my cut. That's really not ideal. Ideally, with a 2-inch piece, it should be about 1 inch, but we went ahead and just left it. It's the end of the day. We're tired. It'll be okay. These are all going to have to get planed anyway, and it might cause a little bit of a cup in that piece, but it should be all right. All right, we're making one more cut here. We're definitely into the wide part of this log. And we're going to get this cut done, and when we get it done, then I'm going to flip it over. And the reason for that is that it's going to be easier to make sure you clear everything if you just kind of flip this thing over and get it completely out of your way. And I checked the height of the log clamp, and it was kind of sitting in a spot that I knew I couldn't really lower it anyway, so we're going to flip it, and look at how wide that is. That's a wide slab. So we got it flipped over. We got the log clamp down about ½ inch from the bottom of the log, just enough to hold it in place, and then take that slice. And now we're going to get it off the deck, and notice I raised those toe boards up right there. That's just to make it a little easier to haul these away. They're big and heavy. I clean out underneath the log loader now and then when it gets bark built up. That's just so I can get it all the way down. Now we're going to push this next log up. We're going to get it up on the deck and get working it. Now you see that lady standing there in that purple shirt? Watch this. All right, got a position. Now at this point, Ryan tells me that everybody's pretty beat, and he just wants me to cut 2-bys out of this last log. Just get 2-bys, get her off the deck. We're all beat. It's the end of the day. So I'm only happy to comply at this point. We've been walking back and forth a whole lot. Get this log positioned, clean off the ends, and she comes over to check it out. And at this point, you know, I'm checking things out. I'm just checking the pith, making sure the pith is centered. But she was so attentive. She really seemed like this was something that was really interesting to her. And I thought, about this point, I thought, gosh, she is really paying attention. She's just loving this. She's thinking this is the next best thing to sliced bread. We're going to get a little more cut here. Now, at this point, I was still not cutting great. We just cut that last one down, and those wide cuts tend to dull a band faster. It gets hot, it's in the cut longer, they tend to get a little bit dull. I can hear it, so I decide, you know what, let's go ahead. Let's just change the band out. It doesn't take that long. We can get it changed out, you know. Just grab it, wiggle it, pull it out of the way, get everything cleaned up.
You want to run it? Last log.
Possibly go wrong.
Oh, nothing. I'm a good teacher.
Okay, I'm not sure you heard me right there, but I looked up at her and I said, you want to run it? It's the last log. Of course, Ryan said, what could go wrong? I just laughed. I said, hey, I'm a good teacher. It'll be all right. So, you know, get everything put back together, get the band on, get it nice and tight. All right, she'd walked over, so I said, okay, let me show you how to do this. And I just kind of showed her how the controls all worked and kind of walked her through each of the controls and what you're trying to do here and kind of how you do that. So one of the things I showed her was I just changed the band. So something you'll see me do from time to time is I'll run the band in onto the last cut, drop her down so the teeth just barely touch that last cut, and that tells me where it was. Set my simple set, come back, drop her down, and away you go. So I went ahead and I showed her that and then pulled it back. And then Ryan went over, tightened up the band a little bit more for me, and I said, okay, here you are, you're ready to go, right? Now this is a gal who's obviously never done this before, but she was so interested and so eager to go ahead and give it a try. So I said, all right, well, here you go, right? Just you know, this is what you do to get the band turned on. This is how you move the guide arm in and out. This is how you go forward and backwards. And so she kind of started running it, and I said, well, go ahead and reach up and grab up here, hold on both sides of it. That way you got your hand right there in case you need to do something. And she just started walking along with the mill head, making the cut. I kept a close eye on things, you know. It is a little bit dangerous, folks. You know, when you're running a mill like this, you just never know what can go wrong. So she had hearing protection on, she had eye protection on, so no worries. So we went down to the end of the log, pulled it back. She said, okay, that's enough for me. That's awesome. I loved it. And she just seemed to think that was the next best thing to slice bread. And, you know, it was kind of fun to do that for somebody that was standing around and watching. And I've had some of you ask me in comments before if I ever let anybody else run the mill or if I would ever do that. And the answer, folks, well, you just saw it. Yes, I will. I love doing this. If you haven't noticed it with the enthusiasm in my voice, I really do enjoy running my sawmill. I love making lumber out of logs. These logs, somebody might have just turned them into firewood or just mulched them up or whatever, and I would much rather take these logs and turn them into some kind of usable lumber, whether it's 1x stock for paneling or 2x for some light construction or blocking material or big wide slabs, you know, anything really. I'd much rather do that. I get a lot of enjoyment out of taking these logs that maybe they wouldn't have been used for anything but burning up in your wood stove and turning them into something that's going to last for decades and decades. You know, if you panel a house or cabin or shop or something like that, this lumber could be there 100 years from now. So now we're going to get the rest of this thing knocked down. Right there, June just went ahead and just kind of showed you there. I was capturing the heart there. And I've said that many times, and as I've said in the past, you know, sometimes I make mistakes too, and I don't perfectly box in the heart, or God forbid, sometimes I actually split the pith by accident. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. You get in a little bit of a hurry, and oh well, you know what happens. You do want to try to avoid it, but I like to show you when I manage to box it in like that. And I'll tell you, I'm showing you every log on this job. So if you're wondering why it takes so long for me to get these videos done and get them out to you, well, there's your answer. I go out on a job and mill up 20 plus logs, especially big logs like this, and that's a lot of milling. In order for me to put out a video of the whole weekend, I wouldn't be able to show you everything I'm doing. So, you know, I try to keep my videos fairly short for you. I know this one's a little bit longer, but, you know, that's the objective here. Try to show you what it's really like to be out on a remote job, either in the middle of nowhere or a little town like Mullen, Idaho, which is a really neat little town, by the way. You know, most people just cruise right through on the I-90. It's just a blip on the radar for them. It is a neat little town, and I have to tell you, if you ever get a chance to stop by the local pub there and get a burger, they're good. They're really good. They're worth the stop, I'm telling you right now. Fantastic little place. I love little towns like this. All right, we're going to get this thing off the deck here. I'm going to let it run a little bit, and I'm going to come back to you at the end, give you my final thoughts. So stick around, hang in there with me. All right, getting the final cut done, and when I'm done a job, I immediately jump to getting the mill back into a trailer so that I can haul it out. I don't mess around at this point. The job is done for me. I've got a lot of cleanup to do. I got to pack up the camper, pack up the mill, all that kind of stuff. So I go ahead and I immediately start to get the mill ready to move. And then, you know what? Time to sit down and chat a little bit. So if you want, stick around. You can hear a little bit of our conversation. Thanks very much for watching, folks. Y'all have a great weekend. The old jarhead out.
Good day. That's a lot of cutting.
Thanks for visiting. By the way, my name's Eric.
Hi, Eric. I'm Sherry.
Sherry, nice to meet Sherry the
Nice to
Sawyer.
meet
She's
you.
a Sawyer.
Got it done.
Thank you for letting me run that.
You're not afraid to get in.
I actually, my YouTube channel is primarily teaching people what I do.
Uh-huh.
And there's lots of little things that even on a I started on a manual. I actually started with chainsaw mill, and then went to a manual mill. And over the years, I've just learned a lot of little things that speed the process up, make it faster and more accurate. Yeah. But here in the band, like we were talking earlier, I could tell it's not running as fast. It starts to howl. I can just hear it, and then I start looking for it. And that's how you'll see me start wandering my hand over it because I can hear it, but it's not always quite there yet. It's getting close. So this is my third job this first out. I'm only mobile. Unless I'm doing it for myself. That's one of my customers called it the old Jarhead Sawdust Road Show.